Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the fireside chat on the topic of building future of e-commerce, ensuring frictionless customer experience through innovation, for which we have with us Juhi Singh, Head of Digital Center of Excellence India and International, Marico India Limited, and Charlie Russell, Senior Product Marketing Manager, Limelight Networks. A very warm welcome to you all. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Charlie Russell, Senior Product Marketing Manager, Limelight Networks, as he will be moderating the session. Over to you, sir. Look ahead to a great session.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. My name is Charlie Russell. I work for Limelight, and by brief way of introduction, one of the best technologies that Limelight has is from Layer Zero. Now, Layer Zero is a web development platform, and so it has a lot of benefits. One of them is that the developer experience is amazing. It's very intuitive and fast. There's a lot of shortcuts. And so it's very simple for developers to make an amazing web experience. But a lot of the other benefits are associated with things like speed of the website and security. And so it's ideal for e-commerce applications in particular. Many Layer Zero customers are on using for e-commerce purposes to get great speed and great developer experience. So that's Layer Zero by Limelight. Juhi, how are you? And what would you like to introduce yourself and Marico Limited?
Hi, Charlie. Pleasure to be here. So I head the Digital Center of Excellence for Marico Limited. Marico is a well-known brand in India and abroad. It's one of the top FMCG companies with legacy and heritage brands like Parachute, Saffola, and also a lot of youth brands like Live On, Pure Sense, Set Wet, and all of that. So I come from an eclectic mix of, let's say, brands which have been household names forever and the brands which are disrupting the future. So yeah, that's me.
Great. You are head of the Digital Center of Excellence. What can you tell me about a Digital Center of Excellence? What does a Center of Excellence do?
Right. So it's a very interesting role for that matter. Initially, it started off as a MDCO's office role because of the focus on digital transformation. Then, as we grew and the team grew, it's been created as a center of excellence, which essentially works on three parts, which is helping Marico move up their digital sales, whether it is through e-commerce efficiency or through creation of new channels like DTC or partnering with, let's say, Swiggy, Zomato, etc. Second part is then digital efficiency, which largely looks after techniques or playbooks which help upgrade or measurement frameworks like what we call digital quotient. And third one is creating infrastructures for future. So it would be anything from analytics platform to let's say consumer data platform to social listening tools to trend spotting tools, etc.
Wow. All right. It sounds like you've got a lot going on there. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd look forward to sort of starting a chat here. I guess one of the first things that I wanted to touch on is, if you will, the generational factors with, different people in different ages, age groups, demographics have different approaches, if you will, to retail. So, I think of the millennials, Gen Z, as perhaps people who are impatient, people want things right away. They don't want to wait. And I'm just wondering, but what are your perspectives on millennials and Gen Z, and how do you see them shaping e-commerce or DTC or these other trends in the future?
Yeah. So actually, the both, let's say, the millennial as well as Gen Z have been our focus through various brands. But especially, I would talk about Gen Z because those are actually pushing us to be more future forward. Of course, like millennials form the bulk of our consumer base today, but we have to be prepared for tomorrow. So, what we understand from Gen Z trend is that they are looking at unique personalities, and they don't want to be treated as everybody. So, which actually
Mm.
brings us to very important insight that we have to personalize and contextualize whatever we reach out to them, and which is why cohortization forms a very important strategy for us. Over and above that, we have, let's say, other insights, like they form smaller communities, and nichification is increasing. So a lot of times, as against typical FMCG, we may not launch brands or innovations for everybody. It may be for a smaller subset of people. So we nichify not just our product but also the communication. We are strongly building communities through, let's say, Live On Tribe and Setwet, grooming portfolio, Beardo, which is a cult brand, actually. So those are the product as well as marketing level initiatives that we are taking. Over and above that, these are tech and platform convergers. So as and when these guys are moving to newer and newer platform, we are also spotting these new platform. Like in India, we saw this surge in Instagram. Now we are seeing the premium audience move towards, let's say, Snapchat. We are also seeing shorter video formats, not just in English languages, but also in, let's say, vernacular languages moving up, right? So we are also present there. We do a lot of vernacular content to reach out to this Gen Z, which is in tier two and beyond. So I would say that, yes, we are preparing in a very different manner to reach out to this audience and also to engage with them.
Oh, interesting. I'm hearing a lot of interesting things in there, like personalization. Can you give a good example or an example of how you might personalize an experience for a given visitor?
Yeah, so actually, one very interesting example is from one of our brands, which is Live On, which is a hair serum. So it's like post wash, if you apply, then get a sallow finish here. That's the proposition. What we realized based on our first party data and Google Analytics data is that not every consumer is actually, let's say, 18 to 24-year old. We also see some of the mothers, new mothers, who are not finding time to in the whole hustle. So they are using Live On to get ready to a salon finish here. Similarly, what we also saw is that in e-commerce, a lot of appliance buyer is also using Live On, because what is happening is that they are getting damage here, and then they are applying salon to finish basically Live On to get a salon finish here. So similar such insights kept on popping up, and what we did is that we create insights for each of them. So let's say for a mother, it's like a quick fix. For the appliance cohort, it's damage free here post wash, and so on and so forth. So while our main YouTube advertising remain the same, the first and the last scene changed and contextualized it to these cohorts of consumer that got a baby, not finding time. Here is a Live On, a bottle of magic which gives you salon finish here, and so on and so forth.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah,
Sounds like a lot of fun to work on
yeah,
that kind of work.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask about A/B testing. Have you had experiences with A/B testing or other kinds of, market testing, analytics, and if you will, optimization of the experience to optimize your brands in the marketplace?
Of course, not in the first go we got the messaging right, and every time we test, let's say, 2 to 3 creatives with each cohort, we see that which one is getting the maximum CTR and is scalable, is where we go ahead with. Similarly, with a lot of our DTC websites, when we see a lot of drop-offs happening at certain point, let's say at payment page or at PDB page, so we keep changing or making small or big tweaks. So let's say free shipping on the top was one of the insight
Mhm.
that we picked up, and it helped us move up our homepage conversion better. Similarly, first we were looking at landing all the consumer to PDP, respective PDP, which was coming out to be very expensive. and hence we decided to create a product page wherein all the tiles of various products and combos are there. So those kind of changes continue to happen, and of course A/B testing is core part of all the marketing
Okay.
efforts.
Um, good, good. So there must be multiple sort of regions, if you will, and the internet access speed, for example, can vary in different regions. I know, I read about India having a lot of mobile traffic, but also that the speed, access speed, is difficult in some regions. And then also, one of the things that leads me to think about is Google Core Web Vitals. Now, for
Yes.
those of you out in the audience that are not familiar with Google Core Web Vitals, it's a fairly new algorithm change from Google. And then one of the things that's interesting about it is, for the first time, the speed of response is factored into search engine rankings. So if the website responds quickly, if the LCP, for example, is largest contentful paint, and that is generally a large image that might be on the web page, and if that loads very quickly, then Google will give you a higher Google Core Web Vitals ranking, and that can actually lead to better search engine results. So the ability to deliver a fast experience is increasingly important, not just for the experience once a user is on the page, but for actually getting people, in when you're doing a Google search, for example. So that's one example of how across cultures and across regions things can vary, and so I'd love to get your perspectives on how digital marketing is translating across, sort of cultural lines and across regions and across, different levels of internet access speed.
Yeah. So I think there are two key questions, and I'll answer them one by one. One is, let's say, localization, as we call it. So yes, of course, localization forms a very important part of our strategy. And given that India, every 5 kilometer, languages and dialect and culture change. So that's why
Mm.
it becomes even more important to keep in mind that there are so many micro markets within a overall market that total addressable market that you are trying to reach. So vernacular becomes a very important part of our strategy, and any overall ad what we create, we try to, at least for the key states, we try and have a vernacular version of the ad as well. Some of our websites also, we have translates. So let's say what we realized, and this was a very interesting insight, that in India, instead of calling gray hair, people call it white hair. So whenever anybody is searching for white hair, they land to a website which was for anti-gray toning, wherein everything with respect to gray is changed to white, right?
Ah,
Because that's what they're searching for and that's what they understand. So that way vernacular and, let's say, the dialect is very important part of our strategy, and we do keep that in mind. Second part that you asked was more towards that, um, how do we essentially handle the page speed and Google vitals, etc. So even before, let's say, it became part of the overall SEO score that Google gives. We saw that the faster the website load times is, and of course, it's also coming from the fact that not everybody has a 5G or 4G data. A lot of people are still on 2G, and even the speed of 2G in India is very bad the moment you get into rural areas or tier 2 and beyond, right? So keeping that in mind, even before that, we used to monitor, and the thumb rule was the website load time has to be less than 4 seconds for any of our direct to consumer intervention. Now coming to the parts of large content, LCP that you mentioned. So what we did is we applied a software at the back end, and all the high quality images get auto adjusted to the quality and the internet speed that the consumer is accessing from. Secondly, even from the mobile screen size point of view, there is a auto optimization that happens. So depending upon the screen as well as the internet speed, you will see a very different experience vis-a-vis me.
All right. It sounds like you must have a technical team that's pretty capable in terms of being able to make these things happen. How much of this is done, in-house, and how much of it do you use, third-party vendors to support some of these technologies?
So actually, Marico is a very lean organization. Honestly, we have only 5,000 people for a $1 billion plus revenue, right? So it's that lean. So what we believe is that we create partners, and which is why a lot of our work, while we may create an in-house team, like I have a 13 member in-house created team, but they are on third party payroll with a partner which we have a strategic relationship.
Oh,
Similarly for tech, we experimented with, let's say, 5 to 7 different tech partners to start with for DTC, and then we boiled down to one or two who were the best in terms of, let's say, speed or experience solutioning and all of that, and finally we have migrated most of our website to those two. So those people essentially work as an extended team for us, and from our side there is just one spock who acts as a IT project manager and ensures that all these business asks are met.
yeah, okay. I'm also really interested in all your localization. That sounds like a great way to, like you said, use the vernacular of those regions and get the search that people are looking for. So, how do you discover what the right terms are? And is there any of that is kind of done dynamically, or is it all sort of you set things up in advance and then kind of know what you're doing?
So, to start with, from, let's say, from day one, nobody has, let's say, what the consumer is going to search on the website, or on a DTC website. So, what we do is, let's say, we would have some data from Google searches of what our brand and associated keywords are. Followed by, there is a keyword tool which also estimates that what are the search volumes on e-commerce for our brand and category related. So we use that data as well. And thirdly, then what we do is, as and when the website goes up and people are searching, we try and analyze those searches into various bucket, and if there's anything which is missing, then we add that.
Ah, okay, good, good.
Yeah.
Um, well, next, I'd like to talk about, if you will, sort of a glitch-free shopping experience. Now, glitch, I don't know if you use that word in India. It means like a problem. Uh,
uh,
so, uh,
yeah, I understand where you're coming
okay.
from. Yes, of course, there's always a glitch.
Yeah. So what kinds of things do you think of in terms of ensuring that your consumers have a glitch-free experience, a problem-free experience, a high-quality experience when they come to visit Marico Limited, and the Marico Limited brands?
So we continue to do a lot of a mobile testing of our websites with consumer, wherein, let's say, on a Teams call or whatever, we will ask them to browse through the website and their mobile screens are shared with us. And then depending upon how they are going through the journey, etc., we analyze that these are the pain areas or these are not the normal consumer behavior, and hence the filters or some features need to get changed, right? So that's part one of it. Second is, then, like I mentioned, a lot of A/B testing continues to happen. So that also gives us that this page is working better than the other. And third, then we also deploy certain software which, let's say, records a part of the journey that the consumer is completing or dropping off. And then in that case, we analyze that what are the drop off points, and based on that we try and fix those points.
Okay. Okay. And the there is a fair amount of technology involved in this, and I know you had talked about some of the people that you have on the marketing team. How much of the technology that makes all this happen is if you will, your developers versus say a web delivery platform where you tell them we want this to happen, and then they have the engineers that make it happen. It's kind of asking about the web engineering. Is that something that you do a lot of yourselves, or is the web engineering more something that you use a platform vendor for?
You mean to say if it's a out of box solution or if it's built from scratch? Is that
Well, more in terms of that's a great start. So let's start there.
uh, So we started actually with out of box solutions,
Mhm.
with a couple of them what were available in India and some of them like Shopify, etc. But then we realized that a lot of features that we wanted required a lot of customization, and especially a lot of new sets of brands that we'll launch in future are going to be customized brands in themselves. So that's where we realized that some of the necessities, or in some of the cases, the solution is not meeting the requirement, and hence we went to a couple of vendors who were building it from scratch or were ready to do the kind of customizations that we were looking at.
Mm.
If that answers.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, good. Um, yeah, it's interesting because you think about when a company starts small, and it might be starting out with using some kind of an off-the-shelf or already built platform, and then
Yeah.
as you said, you need more customization as time goes on, and so it's good that you were able to seek that out. Um,
Yeah, actually, the biggest, I think, benefit of an out of box solution is that, let's say you are in a hurry to launch something, so then that's ready and then
hmm,
can be launched. However, in like if you achieve the kind of growth that you are looking at, or whatever, then you can move the platform in the back end, basically.
yeah, sure, sure. Um, and now, I'm just curious about security. Do you have concerns about, hackers, about people getting into your databases, and how do you deal with keeping your site secure for your own business as well as secure for the consumers that come to visit you?
So actually, we have a very strong, in fact, security team internally. In fact, a lot of websites will not be accessible to me also. So sometimes I'm doing a research on metaverse, and then I realize that this website is not working, so I have to whitelist that, and so on and so forth. Having said that, we do audits on a continued basis, and based on those audits, if there are security concerns which are coming up, or all of that, so we try and fix them periodically, if not, let's say, more than that, but definitely quarterly.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, One thing that I would love to, we have a few minutes left. I'd love to sort of cast our eyes to the future. I think of 2025 as being forever away, but it's already
Mhm.
2022. So 2025 is only 3 years away. Can you believe
Yeah.
it? Time flies. But
Yeah.
I would love to get your perspectives on, what do you see the future bringing in, 3 years, 4 or 5 years, in terms of, the continuing evolution of your brands and the technologies, and also, consumer habits and consumer expectations, and then ways of delivering a better experience. What do you see the future bringing?
So, India is at a very interesting intersection that ways. We have about half of the country which is already on internet, and with COVID, they were forced to buy online. So, e-commerce has seen a big, massive growth, right? And with that, one is, of course, large brands are getting on online, so the competition is intensifying. But even over and above that, there are a lot of these insurgent brands which are coming and which are actually disrupting the category with either packaging which is different, or ingredient which is different, or benefit which is different, and all of that, right? So so one is that, how do you, or a large FMCG brand becomes an insurgent in itself, right? Second is, and participate in the e-commerce and growth journey. Over and above that, within e-commerce, we see some small trends like social commerce picking up. and then quick commerce is picking up in India. So those will be some of the trends within e-commerce. Over and above that, what we see is that first party data, because of, let's say, moving towards a cookie less future and all of that, becomes of the most importance, right? So even if, let's say, most of our brands are not amenable to a DTC kind of a portfolio, but in order to understand that brand's consumer, it becomes important that we have a website which is collecting the first party data in the meaningful manner, and the quality of data is also of the utmost level. um, we also see some of these trends which may or may not pick, but we are definitely going to try them. One is there is a like a mad run happening for metaverse, and that's really picking up in India, whether it is in terms of advertising or creating small experiences, etc. So of course that is going to be there. Second is, then as the second part of the country gets onto internet, your voice vernacular becomes very very important. So voice based searches enabled on the website. The moment somebody wants to choose a vernacular language, you should have that ready, kind of a thing is going to be another trend that we see. And then in terms of channel partners also, so yes, of course we are directly dealing with the modern trades and the e-commerce partners, but now what about the next door retailer, right? Which is a small mom and pop store. So they are here to stay. They are not going to get wiped out. But there is a massive digitization that is happening with them. We need to build some means or technology to connect with them directly, help them do their business better with us, while keeping our distributor channel in place. So these are some of the trends that I foresee for future.
Okay, great. I'd like to follow up on one thing. I heard you talk about something that would not be appropriate for DTC. So, what are some of the things that are hurdles, if you will, for going to a meaningful DTC model? And
Yeah. So I think first and foremost would be unit economics. If it's not working out for a brand, it's not just necessary to participate in a mad race, right? Because finally, at the end of it, everybody is here to make money. But if you are not making the money, even while whatever data you are collecting and you are finally bringing down the A cost, the business model doesn't make sense. Second is logistics and customer experience are two major pain points which continue to happen. So brands need to find. So most of the FMCG brand have, let's say, network to next 5 kilometer I will have a shop, or less than that, which will cater to me. But right now the model which is existing in India is that we have created dark stores, and from there the delivery may take typically, let's say, 3 to 5 days, which is absolutely not necessary. Neither does it make sense from costing point of view. So we need to crack that code, that how do we reach out to them like every 5 kilometer, if not less, right? And then customer experience has become omni-channel. So let's say, whether it is call, or whether it is website chat, whether it is any of those channels, social media, they are reaching out to us. We need to create one consumer profile, that this person had reached out to us on Twitter and now he has called, and the complaint has not solved or whatever. So that right now is broken, because typically there are a lot of walls in most of these systems, that needs to be eased out so that the consumer has a seamless experience.
okay, fascinating. Well, Juhi, this has been a great discussion. I really enjoyed talking with you and hearing more about the challenges that Marico Limited is facing and how you're solving them. Um, and those of you who are listening, I welcome you to check out Marico Limited. Also, my company, if you go to layerzero.co, you can see what Layer Zero is doing in terms of delivering a better developer experience for those web developers, and developing and letting those web developers deliver a very fast, literally sub-second experience. And with that, I thank you all for attending. Juhi, thank you again for your time. And
Thank you so much, Charlie. It was a very nice chat. I think we covered a lot of length and breadth of topic as much as we could in 30 minutes. Thanks to you. Great speaking to you.
Bye for now.
Thank you everyone for sharing such valuable insights. I must say that was one great session. I request the panelists to stay back a while as we'll be sharing the certificates as the token of appreciation. Thank you, Juhi Singh, Head of Digital Center of Excellence India and International Marico India Limited. Thank you for joining with us today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Charlie Russell, Senior Product Marketing Manager, Limelight Networks. Thank you, sir, for joining and sharing the valuable insights. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.